You've been lied to. Every time you said, "I'll start tomorrow," and nothing changed, that was the lie. Every time you convinced yourself that you didn't have enough time or energy or support, deep down you knew it wasn't the truth. But you said it anyway, because it was easier to accept a lie than to face the weight of responsibility. It was easier to escape than to evolve. That's what excuses are. Sweet-talking thieves that steal your potential in the dark. But let me ask you something. How many dreams have you buried under "not today"? How many times have you made peace with average because you were afraid of what greatness might cost you? There comes a point in your life when you have to decide, are you going to keep telling the world why you didn't make it, or are you going to show the world that you did? The truth is, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's handing you discipline. Nobody's dragging you out of bed at 5 a.m., pushing you through pain, or standing over your shoulder to remind you what's at stake. That's your job. That's your fire to light. And you can either feed it, or you can fear it. But you can't do both. So today, right now, this moment, we're not here to pamper your feelings. We're not here to stroke your ego. We're here to burn the lies, to expose every excuse, and to remind you of the version of yourself that doesn't quit. The version that's been buried under comfort, under laziness, under fear. That version is waiting. But it's not waiting forever. So the question is, how much longer are you going to let your excuses speak louder than your effort? Discipline doesn't knock on your door with fireworks. It doesn't show up with music playing in the background or the wind blowing just right like in the movies. It shows up quietly, without a spotlight, without applause. It's early mornings when nobody's watching. It's staying consistent when your emotions are screaming for comfort. Discipline is not about how you feel. It's about what you've decided long before the feeling ever showed up. People wait for motivation like it's magic. They think discipline is this intense burst of inspiration that sweeps in and transforms their life overnight. But real discipline doesn't work that way. It's built in silence. It's born when you do what you said you were going to do, even when the excitement is gone, even when the novelty wears off, even when it's hard. You won't always feel like it. In fact, most of the time you won't. That's the truth no one wants to tell you. There will be days you're exhausted, days you're doubting yourself, days when nothing seems to be working. And that's when the real test comes. Because anyone can be disciplined when it's easy, when it's new, when the sun is shining and the plan is going perfectly. But what about when you're in the dark? What about when the alarm rings and your body begs you to stay in bed? What about when the world is throwing distractions at you left and right? That's where discipline lives. It lives in the decision, not the mood, not the emotion of the moment, but the decision you made when your mind was clear and your purpose was strong. And you've got to return to that decision every single day. Because discipline isn't built in a day. It's built daily. It's in the reps, the routine, the grind, the showing up when it's boring, the pushing forward when it's thankless, the doing it anyway, even when no one claps. And here's the truth most people run from. Your life is a reflection of what you've tolerated. If you've been inconsistent, if you've let yourself off the hook too many times, you've trained yourself to believe quitting is okay. Every time you skip a workout, every time you delay the work, every time you hit snooze, you're reinforcing a habit. Not just physically, but mentally. You're shaping your identity with every choice. So now you've got to ask yourself, what kind of identity are you building? Because discipline doesn't just change your habits, it rewires how you see yourself. It creates the kind of person who doesn't need perfect conditions to move. It builds grit. It builds character. And it builds a foundation so strong that even on your worst days, you don't break, you bend, but you don't break. Discipline isn't loud. It doesn't shout. But it speaks volumes in the results. You don't need motivation. You need a standard. A line that you don't cross no matter how you feel. And once you set that standard, you protect it like your life depends on it. Because one day, it just might. Discipline is not something you stumble upon in moments of inspiration. It's not born from motivation or excitement. It doesn't rely on the perfect weather, the perfect mood, or the perfect time. Discipline is a deliberate choice, a commitment you make to yourself regardless of how you feel. It's a decision you make in advance, and it only matters when keeping that decision becomes uncomfortable. That's when it's real. The truth is, you're not going to feel like it most days. You're not always going to wake up ready to attack the day. You won't always be eager to train, to study, to work, to push forward when things get hard. Your emotions will try to negotiate with your goals. Your mind will give you 100 reasons to take it easy, to try again tomorrow, to back off just this once. That's when discipline either shows up or disappears. The problem is that most people live by how they feel. If they're tired, they stop. If they're not in the mood, they wait. If it's uncomfortable, they pull back. And they think they're being gentle with themselves. But what they're really doing is building the habit of quitting. They're training themselves to believe that feelings should dictate actions. But the truth is, feelings lie. They fluctuate. They're temporary. Discipline, on the other hand, is truth in action. It's a commitment to your values, your vision, and your higher self, especially when it's hardest to keep. Discipline doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be consistent. It doesn't need you to run a marathon every day. It just needs you to show up again and again when it matters. And it always matters, because every choice you make is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. When you choose to do the hard thing, the right thing, the necessary thing, even when it's uncomfortable, you cast a vote for the strongest version of yourself. And over time, those votes become your identity. People think discipline is restrictive, but it's the opposite. Discipline is freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from weakness. Freedom from being owned by your excuses. The more you practice it, the more power you have over your mind, your body, and your outcomes. It's not glamorous. It's not fun. But it works. And if you want to be great, if you want to be excellent in anything, discipline is the price you must pay. So the next time you don't feel like it, remember, that moment is not a reason to quit. It's the exact reason you must continue. Because discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only asks, will you honor your commitment, or will you bow to your comfort? And how you answer that day after day becomes the story of your life. There comes a moment in every journey when you have to decide, are you in, or are you just interested? Because if you're just interested, you'll keep one foot in and one foot out. You'll keep looking for an escape route when things get hard. You'll leave the back door open in case the fire gets too hot. But the truth is, as long as that door exists, you'll never give everything you've got. You'll never commit fully. You'll never go all the way in. And people who don't go all the way in never make it all the way out. Burning the bridge back to comfort is not just a metaphor, it's a mindset. It's a declaration that the old version of you, the one that made excuses, that hit snooze, that broke promises to themselves, no longer exists. It's not a backup plan. It's not a maybe. It's a decision to eliminate retreat as an option. Because if you always have something soft to fall back on, you'll never fight like your life depends on moving forward. Comfort is a trap. It's the quiet enemy that whispers, you've done enough, when you know in your gut there's more to give. You cannot become extraordinary while still flirting with average. You can't chase greatness while still holding hands with convenience. You can't transform your life if you're still texting your old habits late at night. Burn the bridge. Burn it down to the ground so that going back is no longer possible. So that every ounce of energy, focus, and fire you have must go forward. Because sometimes the only way to become who you were meant to be is to destroy the option to be anything else. And yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, you'll be tempted to run back when it hurts, when it's lonely, when the grind gets heavy, but that's why the bridge must burn. Because comfort will always be there to welcome you with open arms. It will always invite you to sit down, take it easy, and forget about the dream. That's why comfort is so dangerous. It feels good for a moment, but it robs you for a lifetime. You want to change your life? Then stop negotiating with your old one. Stop revisiting the mindset that kept you stuck. Stop entertaining thoughts of quitting. Stop speaking the language of limitation. Cut it off. Cut it all off. That's the price of discipline. That's the price of transformation. You cannot rise while still protecting the past that's been holding you down. There is no halfway. There is no middle ground. There is only the path forward and the fire behind you. If you want to become the person you say you want to be, then burn the bridge back to who you used to be. Burn the excuses, burn the doubt, burn the comfort, and walk boldly, even if you're afraid. Because now there's only one way left through, and that's exactly how it should be. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're not just getting things done, you're shaping who you are. You're telling your mind, your body, and your spirit, this is who I am now. Identity is not something you find, it's something you build. It's not a gift, it's a result. And discipline is the tool that chisels it into place. Excuses, on the other hand, do the opposite. They don't just delay results, they damage who you believe you are. Every time you give in to an excuse, you reinforce a version of yourself that's unreliable, inconsistent, and weak. And whether you say it out loud or not, you start to believe that's who you are. Discipline is deeper than routine. It's deeper than habit. It's about character. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps promises to others. Yes, but more importantly, to yourself. That kind of self-trust doesn't come from talent. It doesn't come from talk. It comes from action, repetition, sacrifice, choosing to show up even when you don't feel ready, especially when you don't feel ready, because those are the moments that define you. You can't lie to yourself with your actions. You can post quotes online, talk about goals, dream big, but your daily choices will always reveal the truth. Are you disciplined, or are you dependent on how you feel? Are you committed, or are you just wishing? Every decision either builds you or breaks you, and over time, those decisions add up. They become your identity. You either become the person who gets it done, or the person who always has a reason why they didn't. Excuses are smooth. They sound smart, they sound logical, but what they really do is protect the version of you that's afraid to grow, that's afraid to take full ownership. They whisper things like, you're tired, or you've done enough, or you'll get back on track tomorrow, but tomorrow never changes unless you do. Excuses build nothing. They leave you empty. They offer short-term comfort in exchange for long-term regret. But when you choose discipline, again and again, you create strength you can rely on. You build a mindset that's not easily shaken. You build pride, not from what people see, but from what you know about yourself. You start to trust your word. And that's power. That's real identity. That's where confidence comes from. Not from hype, not from external validation, but from knowing deep in your bones that you're someone who follows through. And here's the best part. It doesn't matter who you used to be. It doesn't matter how many times you gave up before. Identity isn't permanent. It's changeable, but only through work. You can rewrite your story, but the pen is in your hands and the ink is discipline. So ask yourself, what kind of person are you becoming? Not by what you say, but by what you do. Because at the end of the day, your excuses will never build the life you want, but your discipline will build the person who can. The world is not going to reward your potential. It won't reward your intentions. It won't reward what you almost did. It rewards action. It rewards follow through. It rewards discipline. You don't get points for dreaming big unless you do the hard, quiet, often unseen work to bring those dreams to life. The world doesn't care how passionate you are if that passion never turns into consistency. It doesn't care how much you want it if you're not willing to grind when nobody's clapping. The truth is, everybody has a reason why they could have done more, been more, achieved more. Everyone has a story, a challenge, a set of problems that could be used as a justification for staying where they are. But while some people build excuses, others build discipline. And only one of them gets rewarded. Life doesn't pause for your setbacks. Opportunity doesn't wait for you to get more comfortable. It shows up for the ones who are ready, not the ones who are rehearsing excuses. Look around. The people you admire, the ones living at high levels, they didn't get there by accident. They didn't get there by explaining why they couldn't. They got there because they did the work when it wasn't convenient. They sacrificed things others weren't willing to. They stayed in the gym. They stayed at the desk. They stayed locked in when distractions were calling. They built habits that became weapons. They trained their minds not to follow feelings, but to follow through. That's discipline, and that's what gets noticed. You can be the most talented person in the room, but if you lack discipline, talent becomes wasted potential. The person with less talent but more discipline will surpass you every time, because talent is a gift, but discipline is a choice, and the world honors choices. The disciplined individual isn't the one who always wins every day, but they're the one who keeps showing up, keeps growing, and keeps climbing even when they're tired, even when they fail. There's no magic path, no secret shortcut, just a simple, uncomfortable reality. You either do the work, or you don't. You either build your future, or you build a list of reasons why it didn't happen. The marketplace rewards execution, results, proof, not effort with no product, not passion with no discipline. If you want to lead, to succeed, to stand out, then your actions must be louder than your excuses. They must speak for you before you walk into the room. And when you live with discipline, something changes inside of you. You stop waiting to be chosen. You stop seeking permission. You become someone who builds regardless of how you feel. You become dangerous, not because of your ambition, but because of your consistency. And eventually the world has no choice but to respond. Because the world may not reward the loudest voice or the biggest dreams, but it will always reward the one who did the work long after everyone else went home. That's the power of discipline. That's who gets the reward. No one is coming to hand you greatness. No one is coming to rescue you from your excuses, from your fears, from your own habits. That's your job. That's your responsibility. You either build the life you want, or you settle for the one that's handed to you, and the only thing that separates those two outcomes is discipline. not dreams, not desire. Discipline. Every time you choose discipline, you step into power. You reinforce the identity of someone who finishes what they start. You prove to yourself that you are not controlled by moods, circumstances, or excuses. You are driven by purpose. That kind of mindset, it's unstoppable. Because it means you don't need to feel ready, you just need to decide. And decide again, and again, every day. So burn the excuses. Let them die with the version of you that never fully committed. Leave behind the comfort zone that kept you average. Burn the bridge so thoroughly that you can never crawl back to who you used to be. The path forward is built on consistency, sacrifice, and standards. And the reward? A life you don't need to escape from. A life that reflects the warrior you became by showing up when it was hard. The world doesn't owe you anything. But if you build discipline, it will have no choice but to respect you. Now go prove to yourself that you were never lacking potential, only discipline.